right, algebra. Today, we're going to talk about one more thing with division. And it's going to have to do with something negative. But you know I don't like to be negative, so don't worry about that. Let's look at what we got. So, whoa, went too far. There we go. So let's look at our rule like we've been doing. Let's look at, see if we can find the pattern. All right, if I've got the definition of powers, I'm going to do that part first. I've got C times C, right? And then this is C times C times C times C times C, right? This will one out, this will one out. Now, what am I going to do? How am I going to write this fraction? My C's are on the bottom. How many C's do I have? 3. But what do I put on top here? A 1 to hold my spot. All right. So now what if I use my rule? What is my rule? When I am dividing, my rule is to subtract 2 minus 5. What is 2 minus 5? It's -3. All right. So C to the -3 is the exact same thing as 1 over C cubed. I bet we have a rule there. I know you guys don't like to follow rules, but sometimes they make math easier. So what's my rule? My a to the negative power, or my base to the negative power, gives me my a to whatever my power is, but it's going to be under 1. And say whatever my power is, we're going to go with an n here, but we're going to use a number. So if I look at number 1 here, and I am looking at 2 to the -4 power, basically I have to take this and I have to switch its position in the fraction. Because technically this is over a 1, correct? So I'm just taking this and I'm moving it down to the bottom of the fraction instead of being at the top of the fraction. So I can write this as 1 over 2 to the 4th. Am I done? No. I got to figure out what 2 to the 4th is, right? So it's 1 over and 2 to the 4th power 16. Now what about this? Here, my j to the -4 is on the bottom. So how do I do that? Well, it's going to go to the top of the fraction. And when it goes to the top of the fraction, the sign of my number is going to change. So it changes to a positive. Here, when it went to the bottom of the fraction, that 4 changed to a positive. Okay? So to get rid of that negative exponent, I have to move its position in a fraction. And so this, remember, is like it's 2 over 1 to the 4th power over 1. And this is 1 over j to the -4, so I'm going to move it up. And so technically this is my answer because technically it's over an imaginary 1. But we don't need to write that part. It's just j to the 4th. It just changes positions in a fraction. Okay? So if that's our rule, let's do some problems to figure that out. Okay? We're going to look at this problem. I like to do this by moving everything to positive positions and then applying any rules that I've learned for division. So I like to write my fraction bar, and then I need to look at this number and I need to say, is it going to stay here or is it going to go to the bottom? So is this a positive exponent? If it's not a positive exponent, it needs to go. So n to the 5th will be on the bottom because n to the -5th is on the top. Okay? Then I've got p to the 4th power. P to the 4th power is already positive, so it can stay. So p to the 4th is going to stay up here. What about r to the -2? Is that going to stay where it is, or is it going to go? Is it going to stay or go? It's going to go. It's going to go up to the top. So this is going to be r squared. Okay, do I have any like bases? No, I'm done. I have applied my rule. I have moved my things from one position to the other position for my exponent to become positive. Number 2 we're going to do in class, and we're going to find out what to do with this number here. We'll talk about that in class. But so you're prepared for that, I'm going to show you how to do number 3, and then we're going to also do 4 in class. Okay? So 2/10, I deal with that as if it's its own number. So each of these are separated. Okay? A's, whoops, all right, I can't do that. They're not lined up well enough to do that. But my 2/10 is one thing. I'm just going to kind of separate this out for you. I've got a squared over a to the -3. I've got b cubed over b to the -1. And I've got c to the -5 over c to the -4. So now we got to do a little stay and go. We got to decide what's staying, what's going, what am I going to do? My numbers do not stay or go. They stay, always. But I can reduce this fraction, so I'm going to. So I don't do any movement with numbers. I only do movement with exponents. Okay? So 2/10, I can reduce that to 1/5. I can divide this by 2 and this by 2 and get 1/5. Okay? So now look at my a's. My a squared, is that going to stay or is that going to go? It's going to stay. My a cubed, is that going to, a to the -3, is that going to stay where it is or go? It's going to go. Oops, I forgot my 2. Okay? My b's. Now look at my b's. Is my b to the 3rd power going to stay or go? It's going to stay. Is my b to the 1st power going to stay, -1st power, going to stay or go? It's going to go. An imaginary one. My c to the -5th, is that going to stay where it is or go to the bottom? Go to the bottom. Okay? My c to the -4th, stay or go? It's going to go. Okay. Now, I have to apply my other rules. I will keep that 1/5. Okay? But now what do I have to do with my a's? My rules say when I multiply, I am going to do what with my exponents? If they have the same base, I'm going to add the exponents. So I'm going to get a to the 5th power. I'm going to get b to the 4th power. Okay? My rule says when I divide, I'm going to subtract the top number by the bottom number. I'm going to subtract that top number by the bottom number. So I'm going to get c to the 4 minus 5. C to the 4 minus 5 is the same thing as what? Let's see. Do I do anything? So if I want to simplify this again, I've got 1/5, right? Divided by a to the 5th is done. My b to the 4th is done. Now this, I'm going to get c to the -1. So is c going to stay where it is, or is it going to have to go? It's going to have to go. So it's going to end up down here. And that's my answer. So do stay and go, apply your rules, and you're good to go. We're going to do number 4 in class. Have a blessed night.